There is a podcast that lies between the imagination of two simple-minded earthlings. Travel with these two longtime friends, Jimbo and 80s E, as they attempt to explore the fifth dimension. Follow along with them as they take the key and unlock the door to the vast space between shadow and substance. This podcast is one of trivia, of insight, and of sounds and ideas from one of the greatest television shows ever produced. You are embarking on a timeless journey. There is your signpost up ahead. You are entering the tragedy of cinema's Twilight Zone.
Professor Ellis Fowler, a gentle, bookish guide to the young, who is about to discover that life still has certain surprises, and that the campus of the Rock Springs School for Boys lies in a direct path to another institution, commonly referred to as the Twilight Zone.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tragedy of Cinema podcast, the Twilight Zone series. I'm your host, Jimbo, and I'm joined once again by my two co-hosts.
Hey, this is Bond.
Hey, this is Artie Beechcroft.
Artie Beechcroft. I think he died in Iwo Jima.
I'm back to do this podcast.
Can go ahead and give yourself a round of applause. We have made it to the last episode of season 3 of the Twilight Zone. Eric, do you happen to have the date we started the first episode of season 3?
I do not, but I've got some. Got some applause there for you.
7 episodes.
It's been a long time coming, man. I know it's been over a year. At least.
Maybe over 2 years. Yeah, definitely.
But only 2 more seasons left. But before we get to the next 2 seasons, the next time you hear the Twilight Zone on this podcast, it will be for our famous Tragedy Awards for season 3 of the Twilight Zone. So stand by. Those are always fun and entertaining, and Eric's wrong, and we got Bond this year, so I'm sure he's wrong too. So this is going to be fun.
So you're just going to gang up on 2 people instead of 1. Is that how it's going to work?
Absolutely.
We have you outnumbered, so I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
You think so? Well, we'll find out with this episode which side, who's leaning with who, right?
Yeah, we've got to get our categories nailed down, don't we? Are we going with 5 different categories? I know we've kind of
about 15 by the time I get said and done with it.
I guess. Yeah, we got to make it a good one. But you guys ready for the final episode of season 3? Let's talk about it a little bit.
Final countdown.
And I'll just ask Jimbo off top. Jimbo, do you have a plot summary for this one? Or are you going to do that, or am I going to do that?
I am going to just do it off the top of my head, Eric.
Okay.
Yikes.
If you've ever seen Dead Poets Society, you've pretty much seen this episode. No, I'm kidding. So basically, a college professor, he's been at this college for 51 years. Bond, how long have you been teaching for?
About 21 years.
So about 30 more years on top of what you're doing right now. How old will you be, like 85 or something?
Yeah, I'll be close to retirement age by then, I think. I'll have to put another 30 years.
Permanent retirement, right?
They're gonna ask me to go way before that. I'm telling you right now.
Right. So you have this professor, and he loves to teach. He's noticed with this group of rowdy kids he has in this class, though, a couple of them really just aren't paying attention, right? They can't tell him the date this guy was born or the date this guy died. And lo and behold, he gets summoned into the, I guess you would call him the chancellor's office, if you will. And he says, "Hey, have you had a chance to look over the mail that the council has sent you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sure. I wholeheartedly agree. I can't see myself teaching any other way. I'd love to keep going on till have many more students to teach." And he's like, "You haven't opened the letter, have you?" He's like, "Because we're going to talk about your replacement." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, they want somebody younger." And I was like, "Man, here we go already." So this sends the gentleman into a spiral. He feels like he has accomplished nothing. He don't feel like he has taught his students anything. And he decides that basically he's not worthy to live anymore, almost to the point of taking his own life. But fate has a different twist of events that we'll talk about, where there might be a changing of the guard of his own accord. So, 80s.
All right. Changing of the Guard is the title of this episode, The Twilight Zone, season number 3. The final episode, number 37 of this particular season. It was directed by Robert Ellis Miller. This is a first and only time we see this particular gentleman as a director. It was written by Rod Serling, and it has an original air date of June 1st, 1962, which, if you know this podcast at all, you know this is our favorite segment in the episode, the segment that we like to call On This Day in History. All right, so for On This Day in History, if we go back many years, June the 1st, 1925, future New York Yankees Hall of Famer Lou Gehrig pinch hits for shortstop Pee Wee Wanage in a 5-3 loss to Washington, first of his record-setting 2,130 consecutive games. So if you know anything about Lou Gehrig, he was the Iron Horse, and he was overtaken by, who was he overtaken by? Played for the Baltimore, right? Orioles? Cal Ripken, that's correct. Cal Ripken broke his record. It's funny, well, I've got a joke about Lou Gehrig, but I won't.
We don't joke about Lou Gehrig.
It's funny, he died of Lou Gehrig's disease. I don't know what happened there. June the 1st, 1939, there was the first major boxing match it was on U.S. television, the very first one, June 1st, 1939. And it was about between Max Baer and Lou Nova. And Nova wins by TKO in the 11th round. So Max Baer's somewhat familiar. He was featured in the Cinderella Man. If you guys have ever seen that movie, Max Baer was the guy that he fought in the Cinderella Man. Did you guys like that movie? Good movie?
Yeah, that one was pretty good. I liked it.
Have we reviewed it yet?
No.
No.
We haven't even
I don't
Rocky.
think so.
Oh, we haven't? Okay.
No.
I guess we got to get on that. Moving along. June the 1st, 1967, EMI releases the Beatles album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. It hit nationwide in the UK, and it was number 1 for 22 weeks in the UK. So that was 1967. June the 1st, 1968, Simon and Garfunkel's Senior Mrs. Robinson from The Graduate. It hits number 1 and it was the first rock song, to win a Grammy record for that year. I don't know if The Graduate won. I'm sure it won tons of awards, but that's kind of interesting that the song went with a number 1 song with a number 1 movie, so that's pretty cool. June the 1st, 1974, the good old Heimlich maneuver for rescuing choking victims is published in the Journal of Emergency Medicine. So you may need the
Heimlich maneuver, huh?
Yeah, you may need the Heimlich maneuver after this podcast, but any of you
do before 1971? Just let them choke.
Just died. You just turned blue and died.
There was a lady in the corner go, can you breathe? Can you breathe? Can you talk? Can you talk?
Now, Bond, as you're a teacher, have you ever had to perform the Heimlich maneuver on any children?
No, every year we have to train. We have to do our first aid training every year. And every year I'm like ready, waiting to go.
Yeah.
And I let the kids know if you're choking, let me know. I'm trained. I'm certified.
It's ready to go.
I'm sure Bond looks like Dwight when he's trying to give CPR in the office.
That's exactly what I thought of when he cut the dummy off and put the face, cut his skin off.
Beans. Hello, Clarice.
Yeah. Oh, that was a hilarious episode. June 1st, 1980, the first transmission of the Cable News Network, or CNN, 1980. And we mentioned him last episode, I believe, but June the 1st, 1985, Weird Al Yankovic releases Dare to Be Stupid. That was his album from 1985. I think that's really what kind of set him off on his quest of parody infamy.
I just think that every episode we should have what Weird Al was doing at that time.
I know. I don't know why he's been coming up so much lately. And then finally, June 1st, 1993, Connie Chung joins Dan Rather as anchors of the CBS Evening News. I remember that at that time. It was kind of a big deal.
Wasn't she married to like Maury Povich or something?
I think she was. Yep.
I mean, she still may be. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the lie detector determined that was a lie.
Yeah. So I got a couple birthdays. June 1st, 1801, we have Brigham Young, American religious leader of Latter-day Saints. He was born in Whittingham, Vermont, and he passed away in 1877. Here's the most famous of all famous actresses. June 1st, 1926, one Marilyn Monroe, American actress from Some Like It Hot, The 7-Year Itch, and she was born in Los Angeles, California, and died.
Are you a Marilyn Monroe fan there, Eric?
Oh, yeah. Who isn't?
Bond.
He's not. Oh, okay.
No, Bond's
not really.
Died in 1962, and there's a lot of, books,
Conspiracy.
podcasts, conspiracy, YouTube
She
channels.
died the same year this episode came out?
Oh, I guess you are right.
Whoa.
Oh.
Whoa.
Never made the connection.
Yeah, I was typing
It's
that out.
The changing of the guard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, dude.
Bond is deep in this tonight. Ain't
We're
he?
deep.
Man, very
That's why he's the
good.
teacher, Eric.
We are his humble students, right? The teacher has become the student. The student has become the teacher. So June 1st, 1937, this particular actor is still with us. He's 88 years old. His name is Morgan Freeman, and he's an Academy Award-winning actor, Driving Miss Daisy, Glory, and why is Shawshank Redemption not on this list? But it should be. He was born in Memphis, Tennessee in 1937 on June 1st.
What is it? The March of the Penguins. Here we see the little penguins as they are going across the water.
Yeah, it's an iconic voice for sure. June 1st, 1973, German-American supermodel and Sports Illustrated Victoria's Secret model as well, one Heidi Klum. You guys a fan of Heidi Klum?
She's all right.
I'm a bigger fan of Heidi Klum than I am of Marilyn Monroe.
Oh,
Whoa.
okay.
Bond, you are. Hey, speaking of birthdays, probably right around the time this comes out, old Dick Van Dyke's going to hit 100.
Is he? Yeah, I knew it was closing in on it.
December 12th or something, I think.
Yeah, he's
100.
He's been in the news recently. He's hanging in there. And they were talking about his wife is like 40-something years younger than him.
What?
Nah.
Yeah. Anyway, back to our episode of
the guard.
Yeah, for real, changing of the guard there. Let's talk about some facts and details and production costs and all that good stuff about this particular episode, The Changing of the Guard. Let's talk about some total production costs are back in around our benchmark. They are $54,042.59. We have 2 dates of rehearsal, March 8th and March 9th, 1962. We have 3 days of filming, March 12, 13, and 14 of 1962. This entire episode was filmed on stage 16 at MGM, except for Fowler's study and foyer, filmed on stage 18 on the second day of filming. So fairly consolidated filming stage area for this particular episode. But enough about those meaningless facts. Bond, tell us about this important cast that we have in our episode.
We have an all-star cast. This thing has Donald Pleasance playing our main role as Professor Ellis Fowler. He is a TV and movie legend. We know him from the James Bond movies, where he plays Blofeld, right? In You Only Live Twice. If you're not familiar with that one, maybe Escape from New York, one of the best sci-fi movies of all time. If not, maybe you've seen a little horror movie called Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Pulled that up on YouTube the other night. His little performance.
See,
He was the doctor,
Donald Pleasance,
right?
that's what he's at. Yeah, he's the doctor.
Yeah.
He's the one that always goes around trying to tell people how scary Michael is, but nobody believes him. Right. Our headmaster is played by Liam Sullivan. Liam Sullivan was in a another episode of the Twilight Zone called The Silence.
Good one.
And he was also in a movie called That Darn Cat. That Darn Cat by Disney. I believe that's a Disney movie. We have Philippa Bevins as Mrs. Landers. We have Tom Lowell as Artie Beechcroft. And he was a frequent member of the Carol Burnett show at the time. Russell Horton plays Bartlett. Buddy Hart plays Dickie Weiss. Buddy Hart is also Wally Cleaver's best friend on Leave It to Beaver.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be Eddie Haskell?
No.
No, he's the other one.
Lumpy Rutherford?
No, Lumpy was Beaver.
Lumpy was Beaver's friend. He was Chester. Chester.
Oh.
And then we have Daryl Richards. Daryl Richard he plays Thompson on the show, and he was a frequent member of the Donna Reed show at the time. He played on the Donna Reed show. And that's really our relatively small cast. There's a lot of other actors in this one, but they don't get any film credit, really. They might have a line or two, but those are like the main ones. I was impressed with Donald Pleasance, of course.
Yeah, he pretty much had to carry this whole episode, and he was a consummate professional. Just some things I was reading about him bio-wise. I guess he was in the Air Force version, the England Air Force, or are they called the Airmen? I forget the title.
The British Royal.
Yeah, he was in it, basically. And
RFAC, I think, right?
Yeah, he got shot down over France and spent some time in a POW camp. He had some aspirations, I guess, to be an actor before he got called up to World War II, and spent time in like I said, a POW camp, and then came back and went back into acting. And man, it's pretty amazing. That whole generation, of course, he has a lot of credits too. I think it was like 200 plus credits he has. But interesting enough, this was his first American acting job. This one right here, they really wanted him really badly. Whoever the director, I think it's in my notes, and here we'll get to that in the trivia part later. But let's launch off into the episode. In Act 1, we have a loss of purpose. So we get the story set up, and Jimbo kind of laid it out for us a little bit in the intro. We open in the classroom of Professor Ellis Fowler, an elderly English teacher at Rock Springs School, and he has devoted his entire life to teaching poetry and really, as a subset, moral courage as an outworking of that, teaching poetry. So again, like Jimbo talked about earlier, there's a lot of similarities and parallels to Dead Poet Society. This is just like a smaller episode of that, if you will. But Professor Fowler, brings up Alfred Edward Hausman, or A.E. Hausman. Just interesting side note, my mother's maiden name is Hausman. It was actually spelled the same way. It's a German name. It's spelled Housman, but they changed the spelling slightly, so it's kind of interesting. I might be related in some distant way to Alfred Edward Hausman. And Fowler, he's giving a lecture, and he's quizzing the boys kind of on dates and birth and death, as teachers do, and he's reciting poetry to them, and of course they're completely checked out like any teenage boy would be. They're, one guy's like fidgeting with his hand, and one scribbling notes or sticking the pencil in his nose or whatever. But just by way of what he's trying to teach, Fowler, we'll talk about Alfred A.E. Hausman. He was born March 26, 1859 in Falkbury, Worcestershire, England, and he died April 30th, 1936. And he was one of the most influential English lyric poets of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. And he's best known for a Shropshire Lad. It was 1860. It was printed in 1869. It's basically a collection of poems, if you will, of 63 poems. And its famous themes are youth, loss, mortality, unrequited love, and like some nostalgic type stuff. And it's idealized in rural England. I guess it's really kind of more notable in that part of the world. And a lot of the poems, from what I understand, are really sad and somber. So Fowler, again, he's lecturing here, and I'll just go ahead and give you one of the poems that he recites. I've got it right here in the audio clip.
When I was 21, I heard a wise man say, give crowns and pounds and guineas, but not your heart away. Give pearls away and rubies, but keep your fancy free. But I was 21, no use to talk to me. The heart out of the bosom was never given in vain. 'Tis paid with sighs aplenty and sold for endless rue. And I am 22, and oh, 'tis true, 'tis true.
So anything stick out early on in the episode? Anything that you like?
I just want to say that I love the poem. I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
The more I heard, like just hearing it again right now, it's just a great poem about, what does he say? When he's 21,
Right.
someone comes up to him and says, man, give away pearls, give away rubies, but don't give away your heart. Keep your heart to yourself. Don't give away your heart. And then I love the end of the poem because he's like, when I was 22, when I was 2 and 20, 'tis true, 'tis true. So somebody broke his heart when he was like 21 years old. He was told not to give his heart away, but he did, and he paid the price. And I think Donald Pleasance does a great job of delivering that poem.
Oh, excellent.
Because even though the kids are kind of checked out, I mean, they're minutes away from Thanksgiving break or Christmas break or whatever it was. They're minutes away from Christmas break. They're still listening to the poem. I mean, the room's quiet while he's reading this poem. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I got a lot out of that poem. It's really good.
I agree. Do you think that led me to that question I was going to ask you guys anyway? Do you think that poem kind of represents his life and how he ended up possibly changing the course of his life because he spent his whole life basically devoted to his students and teaching and his profession and everything? He poured his whole life into that. You know, that was his first love, maybe because something happened in his life that caused that, pathway to be taken.
If you notice, he's not married.
Right.
So later in the episode, we realize that he's not married. He doesn't have a family. So maybe some poetry like this one has guided him. He has given his whole life to the classroom and to his students.
So he's just so rich he has a maid then?
I think it was the time. I think everybody had some sort of housemaid, house help.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Bond there. I think that maybe it was a perk of, being at the school and being there for so long that he had help being a single guy.
She better have known how to make those pizzas from the school cafeteria is all I'm saying, the little square
The
pizzas.
square pizzas with the rabbit poo pepperoni on it.
The poem though is definitely touching, and it really strikes a chord. And I mean, he just delivers it. You can tell this guy's a professional, and they knew what they were doing with him carrying the load. And then, basically in the notes, and we'll get there, they just sent out a casting call to, 16 to 20-year-old boys to kind of fill in the ghost spots, if you will. But I mean, yeah, you can see the excellence early on. And I think about the time he was around, Pleasance was about 40 years old, and they made him up to be about, what would you guys say, about 70, right?
Mm-hmm.
The math
Yeah, he's
works
got to
out.
be pretty old because he's been teaching there for 51 years.
Right.
So.
And I thought they did a pretty good job with the makeup and such. He looked legitimate. He looked like a legitimate 70-year-old. But let's move on to this announcement. The bad news is coming. Fowler sits in the headmaster's office stunned as he learned that he's being dismissed simply because of his age. And I was going to ask Bond at this time. Jimbo already asked, but can you ever fathom teaching for 50 years? Like, can you even imagine teaching for that long?
I mean, time goes so fast, but it's like you blink and you're like, time goes so fast. But 51 years, he even mentions that he's starting to have like the grandkids
Right.
of his students come in. That's inconceivable to me because he teaches high school. You know what I'm saying? That's a high school, like a private boys high school level classes. I mean, I can understand it if you taught lower level stuff, kindergarten, first grade, how you would get that second, third generation coming in.
Right.
Because I've been teaching for 21 years now, and I've never had like even the child of one of my kids in my classroom. You know, I've run into students. Like last week, I ran into a student who was probably in his 30s.
Oh, wow.
You know, he had a family, a wife, and a family.
Yeah.
He walked in and he recognized me right away.
Wow.
He's like, "Hey, Mr. Bond, how's it going?"
That's so cool.
And once he told me like kind of like who he was, I saw it in his eyes, and I was like, "Oh yeah." But yeah, he was, married with kids, and he was in his 30s.
Well, you know what's crazy is, Eric, my neighbor that's diagonal to me is our old history teacher from our year of high school, in your sophomore year,
Mr. Bates.
And he taught my kids at their school. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't imagine going to all the way to like the grandparent or the grandkids of your students.
Yeah.
Right.
And so Pleasance, he's pulled into the headmaster's office, and he just gets some crushing news, and he is just completely blindsided. Right. Again, I'm gonna mention this so many times, but Pleasance does such a great job of. I mean, he's just rattling on and on. He's like, "I'm not, old." Fowler, he's going to go down with the ship or whatever he says. He's going to be the last man standing there. He loves his students. He calls them dunderheads early on, but he says they're lovable. I think something like that. They're lovable dunderheads. I don't know. It just touches a spot for me because, I had thoughts and premonitions about possibly teaching when I was a lot younger, and teaching/coaching. And, that was kind of somewhat of an aspiration for me. My life took a different path. But it was always something that I thought maybe I could potentially do. And so these, things like Dead Poet Society and these episodes kind of strike a chord with me. You're always so thankful for teachers that you have that invest in you. And this guy has obviously invested his whole life in these young people.
What subject would you have wanted to teach?
I don't know. Maybe history, possibly. I don't know. History of podcasts? I don't know.
History of sports?
Yeah, something. I wasn't very good at math, so maybe English or history, probably. I could pull that off.
Poetry.
Poetry. I don't know. But so he is completely stunned, and he's emotional, Fowler is, and the headmaster is very matter of fact about like, look, dude, you're old. Paraphrasing here. You're old. You need to read your mail. Like we discussed this at the staff meeting. I wish you could have been there because all those people had so many nice things to say about you. But at the end of the day, you get half your pay for the rest of your life, but you gotta go.
Thanks a lot. Right?
Yeah. So he gets his pink slip, and outside in the hallway, outside the office, there are two young students who wish the professor a Merry Christmas. As a stunned Fowler, he leaves with tears in his eyes, and then the scene shifts at his desk at home, and here's another parallel to a Dead Poet Society. Out of a drawer, he pulls a revolver out of the desk drawer. And he begins to ask questions like, what have I really done? And then the emotions really get raw. And Fowler, he feels obsolete. He feels forgotten. He's stripped bare. And his whole identity really everything starts to swirl. And he has all these questions of his life and how he spent his life. Was it worth it? And I think at this point, he picks up an old yearbook and he starts leafing through it, right? And he sees some of those students that he taught and idiosyncrasies and tendencies and things that he remembered about each student. And he begins to kind of really pour out his heart to his maid, what was her name again? Mrs. Landers. And I think I got another clip here where I entitled this The Old Relic. And that's how Fowler begins to kind of see himself as an old relic. And listen to him.
As a failure, Mrs. Landers, an abject, miserable failure. I walked from class to class, an old relic, teaching by rote to unhearing ears, unwilling heads. As an abject, dismal failure, I moved nobody. I motivated nobody. I left no imprint on anybody.
So it just breaks your heart as he recounts his life's lack of accomplishment, so he sees them. And then Jimbo talked about this. He becomes suicidal. And then I think at this point he like wanders out the front door after he has this conversation with his maid. And he wanders into a courtyard where there's a statue. And the statue is of... underneath the statue is a plaque of a quote, and the quote goes like this: "Be ashamed to die until you have won some victory for humanity." And this is a famous quote by Horace Mann. He was an American educator and social reformer. He's called the father of American public education. And I think he was the headmaster of Antioch College, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Which was Rod Serling's alma mater. And it's the closing sentence, that quote comes from a closing sentence of Mann's 1859, commencement address to the graduating class of Antioch College just weeks before his death. Standing under the statue of Mann, Fowler contemplates suicide with an old revolver, that revolver that we referenced earlier that he took out of the desk. And just then he hears the school bell ringing, right? So it's impossible, as the campus should be empty with it being Christmas Eve. So drawn by the sound, he returns to the classroom. So anything from you guys, I'm going to let you guys jump in. I don't want to overdo it. Anything from those scenes that stick out to you thus far?
I know for me, I guess he lives on campus. There must be some sort of like professor staff housing, because he leaves his house, but yet he's on campus because the statue's on campus and he's
Right.
able to walk to the classroom.
Right.
At least that's what they're implying, that it's there, unless all of this is just in his head and he really didn't leave and go anywhere. And, saying like the whole thing was just his imagination. But if he really does leave and experience all of these things, then he must live on some kind of on-campus housing of some kind.
Or he had already committed suicide, and this is his, journey into, because first thing he comes in contact with, he's like, oh, it's the school bells. Why are they, or the class bells, why are they ringing right now? They shouldn't be ringing. Everybody's gone. Then he gets in there and all the ghosts come see him. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, either way.
Or maybe a dream while he was listening to Handel's Messiah on the radio, because that was a big point that he wanted
Because
to
his
make.
maid did say, you need to go take a nap several
Yeah,
times.
he did tell her that.
I was like, I'm on the hump. I'm right here with you.
You're all, yes, ma'am.
Bond, do you ever consider, or did you ever have an
The fact
opportunity
that
to
my
teach?
whole career's been a waste.
No.
Or he needed
That's not
another
where I was
nap
going.
today.
a boarding school of type, set up. Did you ever entertain that?
Dude, I think that would be amazing if
Yeah.
I could teach at some sort of boarding school where there's not the drama, especially if it's like an all-boys school or something.
Yeah, right.
Because because of the drama that there is between boys and girls and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff,
right.
you really wouldn't have to deal with any of that. You could just deal with the education part, dealing with young men. I think that would be it'd be a dream job. As
Yeah.
long as I didn't have to as long as I could clock out at the end of the day. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If I didn't have to live in the dorms with them or
Yeah,
anything
you
like
wouldn't
that,
want to
I
have to
think
be
it'd
a
great.
resident RA or whatever.
Yeah, as long as I didn't have to be an RA, I think it'd be great.
Yeah. So the school bell ringing draws Fowler into his classroom again, and we have a highlighted scene, and we meet the boys who never left, right? So inside the dimly lit classroom, ghostly former students appear, all young men that Fowler once taught who died tragically in war, in accidents, or acts of bravery. Each one tells Fowler how his lessons of honor and integrity and courage guided them in their final moments or shaped like heroic decisions. And one proudly shares that Fowler's teaching helped him to save an entire mine crew. Another explains that his courage in battle came directly from Fowler's poetry lessons. You know, Fowler, in his mind, he thinks that all of this poetry that he was teaching them, it was basically one ear and out the other. They forgot at the moment that they, left the classroom. And then all of these boys come and give testimony to know your poetry that I memorized helped me in a critical point in my life. And so there's a big time emotional turn in the episode, and Fowler realizes that he did make a profound difference just in ways that he never really witnessed. And then we move to Act 3, where I called this acceptance and grace after the visitation. So after this encounter in the classroom, the spirits fade, and then they're leaving Fowler with a renewed peace. He no longer has questions of the worth of his life and career. And then kind of the highlighted scene in Act 3, the highlighted scene would be him back at his desk at home, and he's eating his Christmas dinner that Mrs. Landers has prepared for him. And it's also interesting to note that there are carolers outside of his window too, right? And they're singing Christmas carols. And he goes to the window, and he's moved by watching the boys sing Beneath the Winter Sky, and the caroler's voice filled the house with warmth, symbolizing the continuity of youth and lasting echo of influence. And we have a resolution here at the end that the episode ends with Fowler smiling greatly, no longer feeling forgotten or useless. And the carolers sort of serve as a final affirmation that his life mattered, his students remember him, and his work endures. So, boys, comments? Nothing? We'll move on to trivia.
This is one of the big things as a teacher, when you talk to other teachers or just being in the industry, that to me is the biggest part, is teaching kids how to think and how to feel. And a lot of teachers, this is going to rub a lot of teachers the wrong way, but it's not what we teach. It's teaching them to think for themselves. Because, I teach fourth grade, and there's nothing in fourth grade that you're going to carry the rest of your life saying, well, I was going to get into Harvard, but Mr. Bond failed me in fourth grade. No one looks at your transcripts and goes all the way back to your fourth grade class and goes, hey, what happened here in math? So what I teach, and half the things I teach are going to get replaced by AI anyway. That being said, we're really teaching kids how to think for themselves, how to feel for themselves, the independence that comes with the courage and the bravery and the valor. Mm-hmm. I think all of those things are way more important than the actual facts that come across on paper.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I probably just lost my job saying that, but
no, I think you're dead
but
on.
It's true. That's why we teach. We teach for that reason.
Yeah, those things are the most important anyway. Right? Not that you don't want to miss a bunch of math questions, but obviously, that's what's most important, and that's what really comes through in the episode really well. That's why I like so much about the episode. Trivia points. We already talked about Professor Fowler reading the quote and who the quote is coined by, so we won't revisit that. But Buck Houghton recalled how the casting director wanted Donald Pleasance for the role, and arrangements were made for him to fly from England for this episode, a choice Houghton later recalled was worth the expense. I think we would all agree with that. By the time this episode aired on CBS, Pleasance was receiving critical acclaim on Broadway for his performance in The Caretaker. He appeared in this episode under considerable makeup to give him the appearance that he was old enough to justify a retirement. The episode marked a satisfying conclusion to the Twilight Zone's third season, explaining that even in death, students can still educate their teachers. clearance had to be made for the poems which were recited by Fowler in the episode. And then we have some attorney information. I won't bore you with that. But the final Twilight Zone episode where the ending shot rose upward, seeing the setting higher point replaced by a starlit sky. So that camera pan at the end of the episodes, you know, where they go into the starry night, I guess that ends in season 3. So we pick up a different affectation in season 4, along with the length of our episodes. So really, this is kind of,
changing of the guard.
Exactly. Even in how they structure the episodes going forward. And a lot of critics say, you know, after you get past season 3, it's kind of like, it starts to lose a little bit of its luster, but we'll have to wait and see when we, you know, do season 4 and 5. Although Donald Pleasance played a teacher with 51 years experience, he was actually only 42. Referenced that a little bit earlier. Ensign Dickie Weiss was killed saving the lives of 12 men who were trapped in a boiler room of the USS Arizona during the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941. In the Time Element movie 1958, the unofficial plot for the Twilight Zone 1959, which was also written by Rod Serling, Ensign Janikowski, his name was changed, was killed on the USS Arizona during the attack. The basic plot bears a striking resemblance to James Hilton's classic novel, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I've never read that, but might have to read that after seeing this episode. The second of 2 episodes with a character named Beechcroft. The first was The Mind and the Matter in 1961. I believe that was season 2, episode number 27. And that's all. Not a whole lot of trivia. Spin the wheel. I'll let Jimbo decide who goes first, middle, and last. I do have one question, though. Out of all of the, now let me have it pulled up here, all of the Christmas-themed episodes, and I'll go ahead and name them. So we have Night of the Meek, and if I'm missing one, please correct me. Night of the Meek, 5 Characters in Search of an Exit, and The Changing of the Guard, Christmas-themed episode, Twilight Zone episodes that we've seen so far. How would you guys rank them, in what order? I'll start with Bond. Go ahead and tell me which 1, 2, and 3.
Let's see. What were the titles were 5
Characters in Search of an Exit. Night of the Meek, which is from season 1, I believe.
Right.
Art Carney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, The Changing of the Guard.
I'm going to say 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. It's probably my number 1.
Yeah. It's a good choice.
Yeah. Maybe Meek is 2, and then this one's 3.
Yep. Jimbo, what do you think?
I'll flip it 2, 1, 3.
That's exactly the same way I had them ranked.
Yeah. I might flip-flop. I think Changing of the Guard. Well, yeah, I'm going to go. Really boring. I think we're all in agreement on that. Yeah. I came a long way on 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. I didn't like it at first. It's one of my
all-time favorites.
But I came around on that one.
I have a question. Do you think this episode would have worked better if it was filmed with a videotape instead of the way it was filmed? I think the snow would have, remember Art Carney and that when they did the videotape with that? Do you think this would have worked better that way?
I didn't like the videotape at all. I think at the time when we were reviewing these episodes, the few, I can't remember how many episodes they did in videotape, but I didn't like it at all.
Yeah, I like the way this one was filmed. I think videotape, I'm not a big fan. It looks weird to me when they film it like that.
All right, thoughts, feeling, reviews. Jimbo, you're kind of quiet over there. He's worked a long day. You go first. You're going to go last? Okay.
I'll go last.
Bond,
I will take the first prop piece.
What?
Oh, I forgot about my prop piece. Yeah.
I want the statue. The whole statue.
Oh, you got to be kidding.
And nothing but the statue.
The one thing in the back of my head, I was like, I'm going to take the statue. You're kidding me. All right.
It was a cool statue.
It was. That's why I want it in my yard.
Bond, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first, man. This episode is growing on me. The first time I saw it, I didn't like it. I thought it was a weak version of the Dead Poet Society. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a weaker version of A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. But, here's this guy, and he's visited by ghosts on Christmas Eve or around Christmas time and has a change of attitude when it's all over. So it kind of has that Christmas Carol vibe to it. I'm a big fan of the poetry. I'm a big fan of the lead character's performance. I thought he did an excellent job. But overall, it's just, this episode's kind of boring to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know what it is. And because I'm a teacher, it drives me crazy when I see things like a classroom with 9 kids in it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get this. This is a very selective private school for boys, but there's like 8 or 9 kids in class. And another thing that drives me crazy as a teacher was whenever they show examples of a classroom, every classroom, the class period is only like 4 or 5 minutes long. They'll show them in class. There's like 4 or 5 minutes, and then the bell rings, and they all go. And I'm like, well, of course, anybody could be a great teacher if the classes were only 6 minutes long.
Yeah.
You know, my classes are like an hour and a half.
Wait till season 4. There might be an hour-long episode in the class.
Yeah, but they stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's growing on me. But that being said, I think it grew to a 5.5. It's like right down the middle. There's no real big plot twist to it where you're like, oh man, that's classic Twilight Zone. What's classic Twilight Zone about this one? He has a dream, maybe. He kills himself, maybe. If he would have killed himself at the end and you would have found out he was dead the whole time, that would have been a better twist. Mm-hmm. But the fact that there's not really a big twist, the twist is he's visited by the ghost of kids in his class who've died, and come to find out what he taught means something to him. I get the heartfelt part of it, but it's just kind of boring to me. My prop piece was going to be a big statue to put in the yard to show off to the neighbors. Instead, I'll take the gun.
Now I got to think again.
Eric, you could take the yearbook.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. I'll take that. For me, I just have a few sentences. The Changing of the Guard is a tender Christmas meditation on the nobility of teaching, portraying an honest man's fear that his life has meant nothing, and his quiet discovery that he has touched far more hearts than he realized. In its emotional arc that echoes Dead Poet Society, reminding us that true educators leave victories for humanity not in monuments, but in the lives they silently shape. And I probably like this episode better than both. It is sentimental, probably better than both of you guys. It is a little bit sentimental. It's a Christmas episode. I think it's more like a benediction, right? It's a big sign off, and I think it's properly placed. It's an 8. I'd probably give it an 8. It was an 8.2, I think, in IMDb. It's a B+ episode, if not an A- episode for me. But yeah, I get. Well, here's another thing I'll throw at you. There was a list of, and I don't have it unfortunately. The episodes the Twilight Zone references ghosts, right? I think there's about 16 episodes, not aliens or extraterrestrials, but specifically that reference ghosts. Revelations and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to go through that list and see of all of those 16 or so episodes, which one, ghost themed episodes that you guys like the most. But
I can already answer the number one of that. That's probably Death's Head Revisited.
Yeah, that was a really good one. Yeah, about the German and the concentration camp. Yeah, POW. But yeah, I love Christmas. I love teachers. Well, I didn't love all my teachers, but
Thank you.
I love Bond. Yeah, he's a good teacher. I can already tell. I've never even sat in one of his lectures, but I can already tell. And I just like the theme, the boarding school. I like that whole genre. If it comes to me in a minute, I'll think of the movie that The Holdovers. That was a most recent movie also that was themed. I think it was a couple years ago when that one was released. Excuse me. And I love that movie too. It's probably just one of my things. But I thought it was a good episode, a good, remarkable, notable end to season 3, and I'll leave it there. So Jimbo, and my prop pieces.
Before Jimbo goes, yep. Oh, what was your prop piece? Go for it.
Oh, there's the yearbook.
Okay. Before Jimbo goes, I gotta ask: did they know there was going to be a season 4 by the time they made this episode, or was this a way for Rod Serling to sign off the series?
Well, I think they knew that they were going. They wanted, I think, hour-long episodes. I think if I read that right, the actual CBS or whoever wanted hour-long episodes. I got it in one of my books. Maybe I'll pull it up. But I think they wanted that, and I think when they did push to that, I don't think the episodes connected as well. That's just me personally, from just the few I've seen in season 4 already. I like the half hour. You get in, you get out.
This one just seems like it'd be a great. This one just seems like it'd be a great series finale,
right?
Because it says goodbye. You know, what I'm saying
it might even be better as an hour-long episode.
Yeah, from things that I've read, it always seemed like the show was always in jeopardy. So, they were, as far as renewal and contracts and stuff, I don't know about the end of season 3, but I know early on in the early stages, it was always like they were fighting for their lives early on.
Well, what was that last episode we did? Was it the last one that was like the budget was like 98,000 or something? Remember, because of all the reshoots?
Yeah, that was Cavender's Coming, the one they wanted to make a pilot television show. Yeah. But Jimbo, what do you think?
Guys, what's the one reason we all love? Why did we all fall in love with the Twilight Zone to begin with?
I don't know.
The twist. You can think of your favorite Twilight Zone episodes, ones we've covered, one we haven't covered yet. What's your favorite part about them? The twist. And when you don't get a twist and you get these feel-good, happy stories, I'll call them, it misses the mark for me. I know there's been several that Eric's liked that I didn't like because there were no twists. I liked ones where there's even a double twist. I go back to what was the train one at the stop Willoughby or whatever.
The stop at Willoughby, yeah.
Season 1, yeah. I mean, because you had the double twist there. I'm not taking anything away from the acting in this because I think the acting was great. Pleasance did a really good job. Believe that he actually was a cranky old teacher there for a while, kind of like our co-host.
Oh yeah.
But it's like when they get too serious, it takes away from something. And sure, I mean, it's fun to talk about time travel and aliens and monsters, and like Bond likes the monsters of the week, and I like the bigger twist. But it's just, I'm with Bond. It was kind of boring. It really was, even though it's sentimental and I know it's got a point. But you have to keep attention. Kids with ADHD, there's no way they're going to pay attention to this episode because it's a lot of dialogue. There's nothing that they can say, oh, well, let me connect point A to point B. Hey, where's C going in here? And whoa, there's D. Where'd that come from? So for me, I think I'm going to give it a 6.5. That's just for the acting. The scenery was great. The snow was great. The statue was awesome. And I am taking the statue as my prop piece. So, yeah, 6.5.
All right.
It's going to be interesting to see if this hits anybody's top 10 list. I'm sure it'll hit on Eric's. We already can kind of get that feeling. So from season 3.
I don't know where this one. We'll have to wait and see.
I was looking at the list earlier, and I just can't wait to discuss this because it's going to be fun. Fighting for your ones to be in the top 10,
especially when we get to the top 3 or 4 episodes.
Oh, it's going to be great. But I think I can pretty much guarantee that our top 3 or 4 are probably going to be all the same, but it's going to be a different order.
Different order, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the middle of the pack is where it gets a little messy, probably.
Oh yeah. Well, fellas, we survived to the end of season 3.
Yay! Congratulations.
37 episodes.
37 episodes. Why don't you go grab yourself a Chesterfield and we'll be right back, right?
Have a few smokes.
Right. So stay tuned. The next episode we release of the Twilight Zone will be our Tragedy Awards. It's going to be interesting. We need to get that list nailed down. I know it's going to be the top 10 episodes of the season, probably the top 2 worst. Best and worst actress, best and worst actor, best prop, best plot, best cinematography, best use of light and shadow, stuff like that. So any final thoughts before we wrap this one up?
As of the recording date today, happy Thanksgiving, guys. We might not meet until after Thanksgiving.
And by the time you hear this, it's probably Happy New Year.
Yeah, by the time it gets actually released, it'll be in the new year probably.
Right.
When I was 1 and 20.
We started the Twilight Zone podcast.
In the 20 and 6, we released the final episode of
Right.
season 3. But with that being said, I think this episode's coming to a close, and that's a wrap.
And
Cut.
Professor Ellis Fowler, teacher, who discovered rather belatedly something of his own value. A very small scholastic lesson from the campus of the Twilight Zone.